start
Yeah,
the...
yeah, please.
Yeah, thank you, sir.
Yes. In fact, we have seen two things on Kelly graphs. One is certain fundamental introduction and fundamental properties, and subsequently using the cyclic index of a permutation group with respect to some subset, we could identify all circular graphs of particular prime order. Of course, the problem is open even for p square, I believe. And today we would like to talk about another important aspect of Kelly graphs. Of course, I might have mentioned in my talk, the Kelly graphs are studied in the perception of decomposition a lot. A large number of good number of papers have appeared on this particular topic of decomposition of Kelly graphs. Of course, still the problem is not completely settled. There are very good openings in that perception. So another perception of Kelly graphs is domination. In fact, the concept of domination is very vital in the class of graphs in general. Okay, what is meant by domination? Of course, it is in a sense, it is identifying, in fact, the content of my talk today shall be just introduction to domination in graphs, some very beautiful construction regarding domination of Kelly graphs on particular non-abelian groups, domination in circular graphs. Of course, there is a very vital application called the efficient domination in Kelly graphs. Of course, in that efficient domination, I feel it's a very wide open problem, and there are only two studies on two classes of graphs. Okay, I'll come to that. Of course, suppose you take a graph T for which the vertex set is V and the edge set is E. A subset is said to be a dominating set if every vertex in V minus S, that is set of all vertices in V which are not in S, every vertex is adjacent to at least one vertex in S. So, for example, you take suppose let me label the vertices as this one, I have to identify a set of vertices for which satisfies the property that everything outside is adjacent to at least one vertex in that set. This is sorry. This is 7. Okay. Now identify a set of vertices. For example, if I take this, just I have taken this 4 vertices. Every vertex outside these 4, for example, 2 is adjacent to 1 and 3, 7 is adjacent to 3 and 4, of course 6 is adjacent to 5. So it is a very, as an application point of view, if you have a network, this domination is an important concept. It is identification of certain nodes which will take care of the others in the perception of communication. Suppose if a communication is sent to all these 4 vertices, 1, 3, 4, 5, through the adjacency with the other vertices, the entire network is benefited by them. That means to say, it is a minimal, it is a substructure, It is a set of vertices which will take care of the communication between the vertices or to all the nodes of this particular net. However, there are very some extra redundancies there. So domination means simply this. And of course, here one must look into that basic assumption that every vertex is treated to be connected with itself. That is why we are not concerned about vertices in S. We take vertices in V minus S. Of course, a dominating set is independent if no two vertices in S are adjacent. So a dominating set is independent, no two vertices are adjacent. Of course, a domination set is said to be perfect dominating set if for every vertex V in V minus S, sorry, U in V minus S, this is important, this one, N of U intersection S. What is N of U actually? N of U is nothing but set of all vertices in V such that V is adjacent to U. So that is called neighborhood of U. So we are taking all vertices which are adjacent to this. Of course, ultimately what this condition is implying, you are demanding that for any graph G, this is S, this is V minus S. For every vertex here, there is at least one vertex which is adjacent to S. Suppose this may be the case, but in the case of perfect domination, we don't want this situation. We want only a situation of this kind. This is V minus S. This is S. This is allowed. For this vertex, this is the only vertex which is adjacent. For this one, this is the only vertex. Therefore, this may happen. Something of this kind, it is allowed. So perfect dominating set means every vertex in V minus S is adjacent to exactly one vertex in S. Okay. So that's what the intersection of the neighborhood intersection S is 1. And the efficient dominating set means a dominating set which is independent and which is perfect is said to be efficient dominating set. Or for every vertex V in V, the intersection of N of V, even closed neighborhood means V is also included. Here open neighborhood means U is not included. Here V is included. N of V intersection S is equal to only 1. So that means to say every vertex V in V, including vertices in S, they are adjacent to exactly one vertex in S. That is called efficient dominating set. Okay. And that's what I have commented. A dominating set is which is both independent and perfect is happen to be an efficient dominating set. Of course, this is a very, in fact, in the sense of even finding domination is NP complete. In the perception of algorithm, it is an NP complete problem. As I mentioned in some other contest, you take V, you wanted to identify one subset satisfying certain property. So this is literally an element of the power set of, if this V contains n vertices, this contain 2 power n elements. So we want to search for a particular S among these 2 power n elements, enjoying our required condition. It's a very complicated NP complete problem. Okay. Now let me come to the perception of the Cayley graph. If G is a Cayley graph on gamma with respect to the generating set omega, then C is an efficient dominating set. Hereafter I will denote by E set. Then this is true. This condition is true. Can anyone say why? Can anyone say why that is true? G is a Cayley graph on finite group gamma with respect to the generating set omega. I say C is an efficient dominating set. Suppose C is an efficient dominating set, then cardinality of gamma must be equal to cardinality of omega plus 1 times cardinality of C. Why? For example, you take this one vertex V in this Cayley graph. It is adjacent to how many vertices? It is a Cayley graph.
Gamma.
It is adjacent.
Omega.
Omega.
In that case, what will be the number of elements in this one? I am taking closure.
Omega plus 1.
Yes, naturally, because V is also included, gamma of omega plus 1. Okay. And please note that when I say efficient dominating set, literally meaning is efficient dominating set means one V, its neighborhood, close neighborhood N of V, and another one means only this way, because each one is adjacent to exactly one vertex in S. Therefore, this is what the case. So this is another V1, N of V1. So literally they are disjoint sets. This entire vertex set is partitioned into close neighborhoods. Each one is having cardinality of omega plus 1 vertices. And how many? These are all elements of C. This is one element in C. They are all adjacent to this one. They are adjacent to this one. So how many? This one. Therefore, all the vertices of the graph are being partitioned into the closed neighborhoods of vertices in C. Each one is having this meant in the closed neighborhood. Therefore, that is the, in fact, it is a necessary condition only. It's not a, it is sufficient condition only. It's not a necessary condition. I will come to that later. Suppose you take Z6 and the generating set is 1, 6. Literally, what is this? Because generating set contains 2 elements means it is a cycle. And what is the efficient dominating set? Let me select this one. So once this is selected, what I should not select, can anyone say? In the efficient dominating set?
0 and 2 we
0
cannot.
and 2.
0 and 2. Can I select the
5 and 3 also we cannot select.
5 and 3 also? That is important. 0 and 2 naturally, because adjacent to this one, I cannot select. Am I clear? Anybody? 0 and 2 are adjacent to 1. Therefore, I am not selecting.
Yes, sir.
Even I am not able to select this one. Why? If I select in this set, what will happen?
Neighborhood will have non-empty intersection. That neighborhood of close neighborhood of 1 and close neighborhood of 5 will have non-empty intersection.
In terms of the definition, what do you mean by that? There
It is not efficient.
There is a vertex 0 which is adjacent to 2 two vertices in
Which
the
adjacent
adjacent
to two
dominating
other
set,
vertices.
it is not allowed. Any outside vertex must be adjacent to only one vertex. Therefore, even this 5 is not allowed. Similar argument, this is not allowed. This is the only case. So therefore, this cycle of length 6, it is an even length, has got a efficient dominating set 1, 4. Now you can understand in a very simple way the efficient dominating set. The remaining vertices are adjacent to 1 and 4. That is dominating. 1 and 4 are not adjacent. That is independent. Every outside vertex is adjacent to exactly one of this 1 and 4. That is perfect. So there are three things: domination, independent, perfect. Ultimately, this happens to be efficient dominating set. So in this case, cardinality of omega equal to 2, cardinality of gamma equal to 6, cardinality of C is equal to 2. Therefore, this condition is 6 equal to this 3 into 2. This 3 is cardinality of omega plus 1. So this has got a dominating set 1, 4. Not only 1, 4, you can take another one. You can take 0 and can you say what I should put it? Instead of 1, 4, I can take 0, comma. There is another efficient dominating set. 0,
3.
3. Fine. 2, 5. They are also efficient dominating sets. Okay. In the case of Z7, with respect to the same 1, 6, it has no E set. Why? Zero, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It has no E set. Why? Are you going to try or something you are going to argue about? Are you going to trial and error? Suppose I select this.
Is by contradiction. So
This. You wanted to by contradiction? Yeah, please argue.
suppose 0 is in domination,
Hmm.
then we cannot select 6 and 1 as well as 5 and 2.
Okay.
So we have choice to select 4.
Okay.
But once we choose 4, we cannot select 3.
Hmm.
So
Sir, 7
but,
is prime
will not be dominating set.
or 7 is odd. So we cannot divide it into gamma, cardinality of gamma plus 1 into cardinality of
2
C.
will be adjacent.
That
to,
is what I
sorry,
wanted to have.
Yes.
We have got a condition of this type. Literally, can anyone comment to what should be the minimum cardinality of C?
2.
2. This is 7. Can you have any number here? It is odd. This is even. Therefore, one cannot have anything of that kind. Therefore, even this condition is sometimes called a sphere packing condition. Sphere packing condition. So according to sphere packing condition, this 7 cannot have this way. Therefore, this Z7, 1, 6 has no E set. Okay, now the question comes. Consider this Z8, 1, 4, 7. Z8, 1, 4, 7. Z8. (1, 4, 7). 0 is adjacent with the, what is the generating set I am taking? 1, 4, 7. So if we take this one, 1 plus 7 is 8, 0, 1 plus 4 is 5, 1 plus 1 is 2. So this way. Similarly, this is 1, this is 1 plus 0 plus 4 is this one and this one. Then next 2, 2 plus 1 is 3, 2 plus 4 is 6, 2 plus 7 is this one. Okay. 3 plus 1, 4, 3 plus 4, 7. Sorry. 3 plus 4, 7. 3 plus 7, that is 2. It's already adjoined. 4 plus 1, 5. 4 plus 4, 8, 0. Okay, fine. 4 plus 7, 12. That is 8. 4 plus 7, 11. 3. Okay, fine. 5 plus 1, 6. 5 plus 4, 9. That is 1. 12. That is 3. This one. Okay, something. Sorry. 5 plus 7. Yeah, 4. That's all. Fine. Now in this one, what's the contention is this. You take this graph and it has got an independent dominating set 0, 3, 2, 5, because neither of the 0, 2, 5 can be adjacent through 1, 4, 7. This condition is true because this is 8, this is 4. You can select C as sorry, one of them must be dropped. Yeah, 2. If we take 2, 5, yeah, 2, 5 is a dominating set, independent dominating set, but it is not an efficient dominating set. You check, you can verify that. What my contention at this point of time is, some set C may be independent, may be dominating. It may also satisfy this condition, but that doesn't mean that it will be an E set. So it is only a necessary condition. It's not a sufficient condition. Okay, fine. So these things, yeah, this is what I have got. I am going to mainly use upon. Suppose I take a Kelly graph for any subset X of gamma. N of X is denoted by, this is open neighborhood, X omega difference X. And literally, this is sensible in the case of graphs, but in the case of Kelly graph, this minus X is not necessary, because if you want to have an element of X in this neighborhood X gamma means what? I am this elements of X, elements of omega, I am multiplying through the operation of gamma. So when I multiply, if I want to get element of, maybe, okay, fine. Sorry. By 2 distinct elements, I may get the third element. It is an element of X. Okay, fine. So what this mean to say is, it is an open neighborhood. I am considering all adjacency minus X. This is closed neighborhood in which X is also included. Okay, fine. This notation I am going to make use of it consistently in my next theorem. All these things we have seen. Fine. This is E chain. Okay. People must understand this in a little bit application way. What I have been narrating on the other day is parallel computers. I have got a computer with 4 processors. And this is a Kelly network which is used for routing problem. So 4 processors or 4 vertices. This network I am having. I am making use of this computer at present. I have got some more money. I would like to construct or I would like to add upon another 2 more processors. ultimately my new computer will have 6 processors, 4 of them already having this network. Now the question is, when you have a parallel computer, all the processor must be connected through underlying routing network. So I must have either this way or this way. Can anyone say which is possible? Either this is it possible as a Kelly network? You please understand that my present computer is having 4 processors. This is the network which is used for communication between processors. I am adding 2 more. My computer now it has got 6 processors. I wanted to have a routing network which facilitates all these things. So whether can it be the new routing network, Kelly network?
No, it is not regular.
Regular. So I must have this. Please look at this and this. Without dismantling the existing network, please understand, without dismantling the existing network, adding new processors and getting some adjacency, I am getting the new parallel computer in which a Kelly network is a routing network. That means to say, it is a recursive business. I wanted to construct parallel computers having more processors by using the existing one. It is not fresh as a 6. So that is called the business of E-chain. We say that the accountable family of graphs, I take G1, which is a subgraph of G2, or G3 is a supergraph of G2. So I go on constructing supergraphs of the existing graphs such that, or this is called E-chain, provided every subgraph is an induced subgraph of the supergraph, as in the previous case as I have shown. And not only that, it is also having the property that each one has got an efficient dominating set. What I am expecting, G1, G2, G3, they are all supergraphs. I am going on constructing. Only my constraint is this must be induced subgraph of the new one. This must be induced subgraph of the next one. So GI is an induced subgraph, GI plus 1. And not only that, each GI has got an efficient dominating set C. This E-chain is said to be dense. Suppose if these 2 conditions are satisfied, each efficient dominating set at the nth stage contains n factorial elements, and the vertex set of the corresponding network is n plus 1 factorial. So this way, I would like to have the existence of countable family of graphs. Okay, fine. Now the question is, does there exist a dense E-chain? This is called dense. Fine. And of course, so what is a necessity? Each and every network I wanted to have an optimal substructure. Suppose if I wanted to find the efficient dominating set of particular thing, it is a reduction of the problem. What is the reduction of the problem? You please see. You see this one. Now, I am going to construct a property through which what I am going to say is, if I know the efficient dominating set of this one, I will find the efficient dominating set of this one. If I know this recursively, if I want to find the efficient dominating set, I must know this. So it is reducing the problem. So first 24, then 6. So if I go on reducing, fundamentally the problem at the lower stage will give the solution to the entire family. don't much bother about. I will come to that example and then. So it is only the recursive business of constructing the chain in the family of dense family of graphs. Okay, fine. This is a very beautiful theorem. Journal of Graph Theory, 2003, Degetra and Serra and Degetra. Okay, fine. Please look at the statement very carefully. In fact, my purpose of this lecture is just someone must understand this theorem well. Okay. In fact, this is what the paper just I come across out of while going through some literature. Having seen this paper, in particular this result, my interest gets into domination in the class of Kelly graphs. Okay, fine. Let gamma be a finite group, omega be a generating set. And please note that it satisfies the property that S square is equal to 1 for each S in omega. What does it mean? An element in a group satisfying this condition is called involution. Involution means order of the involution is always 2. It is a self-inverse element. So I am considering a finite group and a generating set in which every element is self-inverse or every element is of order 2. Fine. Let me take one, let me identify one U in the generating set such that when I delete that U from this generating set, this omega U generates a proper subgroup gamma dash of gamma with index cardinality of omega plus 1. What is the index of the subgroup? What is the index of the subgroup? Gamma is the supergroup. This is the subgroup. Index means cardinality of gamma by cardinality of gamma dash. So what I expect is I wanted to have a U such that omega U generates a proper subgroup of index cardinality of omega plus 1. Up to this, only algebraic input. Now I am coming to the graph theoretical output. If U is equal to, capital U is equal to, gamma dash intersection U gamma dash U is an efficient dominating set in this Cayley network, then neighborhood of gamma dash is an efficient dominating set in this one. Please look at things very once again. Gamma is generated by omega. Every element of omega is an involution. I am finding one element gamma U such that gamma U is omega U, this one. This gamma dash is a proper subgroup of gamma. Once I have a group and generating set, naturally I will have Cayley gamma comma omega. This is a Cayley graph. Another one, this is a subgroup gamma dash comma its generating set. This is also a Cayley group. Which one is a proper subgroup of which one is a this way? In fact, it is not equal to. This is a super graph. This is a subgraph. What the theorem states is, under such a situation, if you are be able to find one efficient dominating set, that is not a very general, it is constructed in a special way, then I need not do anything here. If all these assumptions are true, let me find graph theoretically the neighborhood, it will be an E set. I need not go for anything else. That is, the problem of determining efficient dominating set in this supergraph purely lies on or relies on the efficient dominating set in the subgraph. Then what I will do? I will take another subgraph reduction. Ultimately, at one point of time, the problem is very fundamental and simple and trivial. So this is a very beautiful construction. Now one may wonder, or my question is, can you give me a group and generating set in which every element is of order 2? Can anyone recall this one? A group and a generating set in which every element is of order 2.
Symmetry group.
Symmetry group. What is a generating set? Can anyone say?
Transpositions.
1, I. So each transposition is of order 2, and this is generated by this. And purely this theorem is written by having in mind this one, but however it is in the general perception. There may exist some other group satisfying this property. So purely with this existence only, this theorem is written. So how to prove the graph theoretical fact? Okay. And please note that S square is equal to 1 for every S in this one. Therefore, I can write this U as that is taken as gamma dash intersection U gamma dash U. Because U is an element of omega, it is also of order 2. Therefore, U equal to U inverse. So let me write this U, which is taken as this way. Can anyone say what is the benefit of writing this way? Algebraically, instead of this, and this, this gives algebraically a more information than this.
Conjugates. I mean, U gamma prime U inverse is a conjugate of gamma prime.
And so what? You are exactly correct. Ultimately,
uniqueness.
Okay, normality.
which one is normal you wanted to be?
Gamma prime.
How do you say that? It is only for a particular U I am talking about. If it is true for all, and where is what is the relation between these two? I never said anything. It is a subset of gamma dash or something. Then only you can talk about normality. Okay. Please look at this alone. Can you say anything about this? Given that gamma dash is a subgroup of gamma.
It has same size as gamma prime.
Gamma prime. Okay, cardinality. Algebraic
Yes.
structure wise.
Isomorphic.
It is a set theoretical property. Or
Yeah.
more specifically, when I view this, it is purely a subset of gamma. When I view this way, it is a subgroup of gamma. Am I correct? Because gamma dash is a subgroup, conjugate of any subgroup is again a subgroup. That's what somebody said, isomorphic. So when I view this way, I cannot say it is a subgroup because it is not a conjugate. So if H is a subgroup of G, then this is only a coset, double coset. So when I view this way, this gives the implication that Okay. So this gamma dash is a subgroup, and again, okay, this is a subgroup of gamma. So literally, you please note that in the statement, we are literally taking a subgroup as a efficient dominating set of the Cayley graph. Okay, fine. So that's what I have written. Now, what my aim is, I am going to consider certain induced subgraphs of this Cayley gamma comma omega. For each x in gamma, let gamma x be the subgraph of this Cayley gamma comma omega, induced by the coset of x gamma dash or x gamma prime of gamma prime. Because gamma prime is a subgroup, and literally this x gamma prime is a coset of this gamma prime. So in particular, let me take when x equal to identity, this is gamma prime, and gamma prime is generated by omega u. Therefore, gamma 1 is nothing but Cayley gamma dash comma omega u. Okay. Now, for x in gamma, you consider pi x of a is equal to xa for each a in gamma. And of course, we have already verified that this pi x is a graph isomorphism between this gamma 1 and gamma x. So ultimately, I have got certain subgraphs. This gamma 1, gamma x1, gamma x2, etc., gamma x3, so on and so forth. This is induced by gamma prime. This is gamma prime. This is induced by x1 gamma. This is induced by x2 gamma, etc., etc., and so on and so forth. So each one gives me one induced subgraph, and they are all isomorphic among them. Please note that this gamma 1 has got a E set. U is an E set of gamma 1. And by spare packing condition, because what is the spare packing condition? U is a efficient dominating set of gamma 1. How many elements this vertex set of gamma 1 contains? This gamma 1 contains how many elements? Cardinality of this one, gamma dash. This is number of elements in the generating set plus 1. Because gamma, this gamma 1 is generated by omega u. Omega u contains omega minus 1 elements plus 1 into gamma of u, this one. So it's only sphere packing condition applied for this gamma 1. So these are all situations. Now my claim is D is equal to n gamma dash is a E set of this one. Fine. Okay. And please note that u is not an element of gamma dash. Of course, gamma dash is generated by omega u. And this one. Now D is equal to n of gamma dash. N of gamma dash means literally by definition, this is nothing but n of gamma dash means gamma dash omega minus omega. This is what, because I have to multiply each element of gamma dash with omega. So that's what being done here. This is x in omega gamma dash of x. Now, this omega is union singleton u. This is part is singleton u. This part is from omega u. So literally, this n of gamma dash is equal to union of x in omega gamma dash x, union of x in omega u, gamma dash x, union gamma dash u. Okay. And of course, this U is in gamma dash because it is generated by this one. Therefore, this gamma dash U is equal to gamma dash, and this is, sorry, here X in omega U means gamma dash is generated by omega U. So this will be an element. Each element will be in gamma dash. So this way. Okay, fine. As per the definition, n of gamma dash is equal to gamma dash omega minus gamma dash. So therefore, D is equal to n of gamma dash is equal to, on two things, this one and this one, but both are the same. So here minus gamma dash, I should select it. Ultimately, if I take minus gamma dash, which is nothing but gamma dash U. So D is equal to n gamma dash is equal to one particular coset of gamma dash. For each x in n, dx equal to d intersection x gamma dash. Since x in gamma generated by omega, this is generated by omega union u. Ultimately, I can write this x as h into u for some h in gamma dash, because here it is there, x gamma dash. If dx is non-empty, then dx is nothing but d is gamma dash u. In the previous slide I have observed, this is x gamma dash. This gamma dash, let me write it as this x is being written as hu. Sorry, here it is wrongly written. It must be gamma dash hu, gamma dash hu, and ultimately, yes, in fact, that's also correct, because u is in gamma dash, therefore u gamma dash is equal to gamma dash. Okay, fine, same thing. And u I have written, it is a self-inverse element, therefore u square is the identity. I can take hu outside. Ultimately, what I am getting is hu into u dash gamma u intersection gamma dash. Ultimately, please come to that. This is what my main thing. Therefore, this comes as hu is x, xu. So whenever dx is non-empty, this dx is nothing but xu. Therefore, dx equal to x into a, the isomorphism pi x of u. Fine. So you please note that ultimately what happens, this pi x of u is nothing but a coset. And the number of cosets intersected by d is nothing but, this is the number of cosets. D is gamma dash u, dx is xu. Ultimately, it is cardinality of omega. All these things are trivial. Since gamma dash is equal to square packing condition, all cosets of gamma dash except gamma dash intersected by d. So ultimately, n of d is equal to d gamma minus d. T gamma is, I am writing this as d omega u union du minus d. This is nothing but dx union du minus d. Ultimately, this is a union x in gamma minus gamma dash, x gamma dash union gamma dash. Please note that this is what the important here. The algebraically, ultimately, the neighborhood is derived upon. Each one is a coset from elements which are not in gamma dash. Ultimately, gamma minus d. Therefore, this gives you the required property that d is an efficient dominating set. And even somebody may not be able to get into the proof immediately what it was narrated. But one thing I would like to tell, the main important thing is that this is what my fundamental aim. What is my fundamental aim? This is group. This is generating set, subgroup. This is graph, subgraph. What it is prevailing here is, in the case of algebraic things, it is coset. In the case of Cayley graph things, it is E set. This is what the very effective relation between the cosets of the subgroup ultimately gives you E set of the Cayley graph. The E set is derived upon only from the coset representatives That's a very beautiful relation. Ultimately, it gives you. Okay, that's what I said. This result provides a very dense E-chains on Kelly graphs of symmetric groups. Of course, as I was telling on the previous day, there are so many generating sets for the symmetric groups. This is one generating set sigma, and each one is a transposition. Yeah, please.
Is a characterization of cosets and E-sets. One only.
Yeah. No, definitely. Because once you have a coset decomposition, you know the representatives. Ultimately, these representatives gives rise to efficient dominating set. That's what it happens. In fact, there is another notion called projection, covering projection, through which this isomorphism and the union of the subgraph is expressed. It is literally this way. You take a graph, each component is one graph, isomorphic to one graph. So suppose if it is a complete graph, it is complete means one, I have to take one vertex here. This is again another complete graph, one vertex here, so on, so. So literally what happens is this dx is one complete graph. Ultimately, I get one representative, I get the EZ. That's what happening. But not in all cases it is a complete graph. There are some other graph through which covering projection is dealt up. Okay, however, this is important. How I will select the representative? That's what very example point of view. Let me consider the symmetric group and the transpositions 1, I, 2 less than or equal to I less than or equal to n. Then it is a generating set. Let pi I be an arbitrary product of transpositions on this set. So 2, 3, etc. I minus 1, 1 is less than I or I is greater than 1. Let me take a P2, P3 as identity. Then recursively, one can construct a P4, P5, etc., etc. For example, P4 may be arbitrary product of 2, 3. So identity is there, 2, 3. That's all P4. So this way, product of transpositions on this set. Suppose I take 5. I is equal to pi. P5 is nothing but 2, 3, 4, I minus 1. So this could be the product 2, 3 into 2, 4, or 2, 3 into 2, 2, 3 into 3, 4. So it is an arbitrary product of transpositions from these elements. But basic thing is P2 and P3 are nothing but one identity. For each positive integer n greater than or equal to 2, let me take this A of P2, etc. Pn is equal to sigma 2 P2. This sigma 2 means here it is there. Sigma 2 is equal to 1, 2. P2 identity. Then sigma 3 P3, etc. sigma n P. For example, I will give that example. N is equal to 4. Sigma 2 is equal to 1, 2. Sigma 3 is equal to 1, 3. Sigma 4 is equal to 1, 4. It is a generating set for S4. Then as per our notation, this P2 is identity, P3 is P identity, and this is 2, 3. Just now, this is a arbitrary product of transpositions on the symbols 2, 3, only 2 symbols, therefore that is the only thing possible. Make a permutation product of each of the things correspondingly. Then A of P2, P3, P4 is equal to this one. Ultimately, I will get this 1, 2, 1, 3, 1, 4, 2, 3. And please note that this is what this property is. This A has got some special algebraic property. This one. For each of the integer n greater than or equal to 2, and any choice of involutions pi I greater than or equal to 4, the set A of P2 comma etc. Pn generates the full symmetric group Sn. Ultimately, what this is important is this is a generating set of S4. So in general, this way one can get generating sets for Sn which satisfies our own requirements. Of course, just this you can verify by induction. It's not anything very complicated. Okay. Now come to this one. Actually, our aim is in the previous result. Our aim is we wanted to construct a family of efficient dominating family of graphs, other way E chains, for which existence of efficient dominating set of cardinality n factorial is ensured. Okay. Suppose P is equal to P2, P3, etc. be a family of involutions with this Pi is a symmetric element of the symmetric group generated by 2, 3, etc. I minus 1 for each I greater than or equal to 4. Of course, the initial conditions is P2 equal to P3 is equal to identity. Let gamma n is equal to Sn plus 1 an plus 1, where an plus 1 is equal to this. Then this family is a class of dense E chains. That means to say G2 2 factorial, G3 3 factorial, G4 4 factorial, etc. etc. Each one contains n plus 1 n factorial vertices, and the cardinality of this E chain is nothing but n factorial. So the group contains n plus 1 factorial elements, and this E set contains n factorial elements. Just a minute. சரி நான் போன் எனக்கு வந்து அதனால நான் கிளாஸ் முடிச்சிட்டேன். சரி 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 எனக்கு ரிங் வந்து okay. So this gives the class of dense E chains this. For example, I will give this n is equal to 4. All these things we have seen. This one S4 is generated by A. Let me take U as this element. And of course, what is the order of U as a permutation? LCM of the individual lengths of the individual cycles. So 2, 2, it is again 2. Therefore, U is an involution. And this is A minus this U, AU. In fact, there we have put omega. Here we put A. A is a generating set of S4. I take particular element U, and AU is this one. And of course, AU generates. Can anyone say? Yeah, it is given. But is H is equal to the subgroup generated by AU, this one. And please note that what is the commonality of all the elements in this? 4 is a fixed element. 4 is fixed. Literally, it is a permutation of degree 3. 4 is fixed element. By omitting that, ultimately this is isomorphic to S3. And please note that how many elements S4 contains? 24 elements. And this omega is A contains 3 elements, and this AU contains 2 elements. So the index is yes, index is cardinality of A plus 1. Ultimately, A plus 1 3. So cardinality of A is 2. Index is a bit 3 into yes, index cardinality. Yes, cardinality of index H is 4. Sorry, cardinality of H is 6. The generating set element is 3 plus 1, 4. 6 into 4, 1. That condition is true. So this condition is true. H is a subgroup of index cardinality of A plus 1. Therefore, here what is under consideration is 2 Cayley graphs. One is this subgraph, another one is supergraph. Sorry, this is S4. It is not S3. This is S4. This is isomorphic to S3. Okay, fine. Now what happens is if you find the UHU, that's what we wanted to find. This you can see that. And U is equal to H intersection this. This is a E set in this, and its neighborhood is a E set here. Here again the problem is S4. So this gives, of course, having seen this, we are motivated by this. We wanted to find, and please note that what is the handicap in this particular result is what the dense E chain is. It starts with 2, 6, 24, 120, 720, etc. 2 factorial, 3 factorial, 4 factorial, 5 factorial, 6 factorial. As a practical point of view, what does it mean? If you have a parallel computer with the 2 processors, you can extend it to this one without dismantling anything existing. From this one is possible to have this one. From this one. So ultimately, if you have a parallel computer with 6 processors, next you can buy only 24 as per this thing. But it is very much exponential when it goes to later on. There are so many things in the middle. Can I have anything with the 40 processors? Can I have anything with 20 processors? So all these things very unanswered. Or the difference of the cardinality of the vertex sets of 2 successive graphs in this dense E family is very large. The range is very large. So can I consider something reduced? That's what our question. Ultimately, we concentrated on this. Of course, in that case we started, that's what this difference is very large. So we have started this problem. Of course, this paper has appeared in discrete applied mathematics. So what ultimately we have considered is, why not such a construction for the Cayley graphs on ZM, the finite cyclic group? Of course, with regard to the domination in the finite cyclic group, the entire fact stands on the generating set. And of course, the generating set should have this property, x1, x2, xp, n minus xp, etc., etc. This is symmetric, and GCD1 means that is to ensure that X generate Zn. Of course, this dominating sets, efficient dominating set stands on, in fact, domination rely upon the generating set and the number of elements in the generating set. Okay. Now, what my aim is, I wanted to construct a family of E chains in which the difference between the vertex set is as much as reduced. For that purpose, what I am considering is this one. Let me take n is a number, integer. Q1, Q2, etc. Qi's are integers, or in particular, let them be primes. What I am considering in my case is original circulant graph is this one. This one with respect to this set. And subsequently, what I am considering is this xi is equal to x1, x2, xp. I am multiplying n, q1, q2, etc. something. This is a larger set. So I am going to consider circulant on this. And let me consider the connection between this and this one. Okay. Fine. This is what my consideration. Subgraph is circulant n comma x. I take one prime number. I multiply the number of vertices by that prime number. Correspondingly, I make change in the generating set relevantly. So this is the subgraph. This is a supergraph. With this nq1 multiplied by another prime number q2, x2, etc., etc. If you construct the circulants in this way, I am able to give the efficient dominating sets as in the previous case. That means to say, if I know efficient dominating set of this one, I will find this one, and recursively I can go all these things. Yeah, I will give this example. First, I am taking n is equal to 10. The first prime number is q1 is equal to 3. Second prime number is q2 is equal to 5. Third prime number is q3 equal to 2. Ultimately, what I am going to consider is this. First, circulant on 10 vertices. q3 is equal to 3. Then circulant on 30 vertices. q2 is equal to 5. Then circulant on 150 vertices. Then q3 equal to 2, circulant on 200. This is multiplied by 3. This is multiplied by 5. This is multiplied by 2. This is n. This is q1, q2, q3. Of course, if my memory is correct, one should have distinct primes. Equal primes will not work. Of course, that is void open. If equal primes work, I will take 2, 20, 40, etc., etc. That is possible, but as of now, that doesn't work. So what my result is going to give you, circulant on 10, this. For example, instead of 24 to 120 factorial case, it is 720. There are 600 numbers in between, but I give here very minimum, only the prime factor. Okay, this is what I am going to consider. Now, please note that the first circulant what I am considering is circulant 10, 1, 2, 8, 9. This is the generating set. This is on this. And one can check that it is a circulant graph on 10 vertices. Cardinality of omega is equal to 4. Omega plus 1 is 5. The efficient dominating set should have 2 elements. That is nothing but 0, 5. Now, I multiply this 10 by q1. Ultimately, the resulting 30, what is this? This is what one must understand here. This is the generating set for this graph. Once I have taken this, what I have to do is 1, 2 is as it is there. It is nothing but how that is getting n q1 minus 2. Yes, you please note that here n q1 is 30, 30 minus 2, 30 minus 1. Okay, fine. Or this is a generating set for circulant 10 into 3, a1. Or you need not have very much problem. Once you retain this part, automatically they are the negative, they are the inverses, nothing to worry about. So what is next? 10 into 3 into 5, 150. This is a generating set. 1, 2, 150, minus 2, 150 minus 1. And this is nothing but 300. 1, 2, 300 minus 2, 300 minus 1. So I take one number n, certain prime numbers. I take the first circular graph. Immediately I construct another chain of circular graphs. This way, multiplying by each prime at each stage. Now, please note that these are all one graph, another graph, this generating set, another graph, another graph, another graph. Now, aim is I must give something for the efficient dominating set of this graph through this one. That is what my aim. Literally, please check that S is equal to 0, 5. S1 is 0, 5, 10, 25. Please note that what is the number of vertices in A1? Next stage graph, 30 vertices. You take all 5 multiples. Next, 150 vertices, all 5 multiples up to 150. Next, 300 vertices, all 305 multiples up to. That is, without doing anything, just if I know this 5, I can construct efficient dominating sets of the other circular graphs without looking into the graph at all. So that is the one of the thing that I need not stay in anything regarding the super graphs. So these prime numbers make use of that. This is the thing which we have constructed. Of course, this, yes. In fact, now the question is, can we still reduce the gap? How best you can use the same prime numbers, and all these questions are under, it has to be studied. We are not able to continue thereafter because of the some techniques of covering projection involved with the proof. Proof is a little bit complicated. Okay. Of course, another one particular important thing which we have exhibited is the relationship between the subgroups of the group and the efficient dominating sets of the Cayley graph. That we have done. Literally. Yeah. Just a minute. Yeah, this is what. Let H be a proper subgroup of Zn. Then H is an efficient dominating set of G is equal to circulant n, A for a suitable generating set A of Zn, if and only if either of the following is true. N is equal to cardinality of H into 2k plus 1 for some integer k greater than or equal to 1. N is equal to cardinality of H into 2k plus 2 for some integer greater than or equal to 2, and cardinality of H is odd. What is the meaning of this theorem? What is the implication of this theorem? Any subgroup can be considered as a efficient dominating set of a suitable circular graph or a circular graph with respect to a suitable generating set on Zn. That's one. That is what you please note that I am taking a subgroup of Zn. I wanted to make this as efficient dominating set of what? Of this Cayley graph, of this circular graph. So what I need to find? I can find A. So the existence of a generating set A such that this is a efficient dominating set, and when it could be done if the conditions or either of the condition is true. So any subgroup can be considered as a efficient dominating set of a suitable circular graph or suitable Cayley graph by identifying the relevant generating set. This we could do it. In fact, recently one paper has appeared in similar to this one, or by following this result, something on dihedral groups. The subgroups of a dihedral group can also be viewed as efficient dominating sets of Cayley graphs on dihedral groups. Very recently, maybe last year 2020. Of course, the domination circular graph is studied on many components by us. Of course, the results correspond or the result depend upon the generating set. Not only domination, we have studied the various domination parameters like total, connected domination, perfect domination. So all these things we have done. And just I will give you a sample result. You please look at this one. I am considering the cyclic group Zn. I am taking the generating set A as 1, 2, etc. k, n minus k, n minus k minus 1, etc. And these are all inverses of the first k elements. That k should lie between 1 and n minus 1, 1 by 2. And definitely this is a generating set of Zn. And we have studied almost all parameters for the circular graph of Zn with respect to k. This is one thing we have done. And another thing you please see, another generating set 1, 3, etc. 2k minus 1, n minus 2k minus 1, etc. n minus 1. It is also studied because these two elements must be distinct. We have taken this condition, and that circular graph is also well studied. You please note this. Let n and k be positive integers such that 1 less than or equal to k less than or equal to n minus 1 by 2. Let G be the circular graph on n comma a, where a is this generating set. Then gamma of G, the number of elements in the minimal dominating set, is given by n by cardinality of a plus 1. Of course, upper zeal n over cardinality of a plus 1. Of course, when there are some particular cases. These things are okay. Yeah. In the previous result, I have given what is the domination number. Not only domination number is given, we have explicitly given what is the corresponding dominating set. This is called gamma set. Gamma set means a set which is dominating, having gamma elements. That is called gamma set. We have identified all gamma sets of this family of circular graphs. Of course, due to that, we have considered some other. In fact, this is what once again I would like to emphasize. Once D is a dominating set, there are certain cosets which are also dominating sets in the same graph. That is also there. Independent and perfect domination numbers are given. They are all exact values. So just I would like to give. This you please consider. It is a general thing. First one, 1 to k, etc. n minus 1 to n minus k. Second one, 1, 3, etc. up to 2k minus 1, n minus 2k minus 1 up to n minus 1. Why not we consider in general? Let n be an even integer. M is equal to lower zeal n minus 1 by 2. K be an integer such that 1 less than or equal to k less than or equal to n. Let me consider the circular graph G with respect to the generating set m minus k minus 1, m minus 1, m, n by 2, because n is even, n by 2, etc., etc. Then the domination number of this circular graph is either upper zeal n by 2k plus 2 or upper zeal n by 2k plus 2 plus 1. In fact, this problem is still open when this is equal to this part, when this is equal to this part. Still it is open. So in fact, the difference is just one, either this number or this number. But however, it is still an open problem. when this gamma of G is equal to lower bound, when it is equal to upper bound. That's still open. Of course, not only that, we have obtained in a more general sense that we have taken this N, D1, D2, etc., dk, which are all lies between this range, N minus, D1, etc., dk, N minus D1, etc., N minus dk, with this as a generating set. We have determined certain domination numbers. And of course, in the previous result, the difference is only 1. But in this general situation, the difference is nothing but the minimum of the D1, D2, etc., D. And still the problem is open. A very small amount of work only could be done by us. And I will say, give the reference papers at the end of this one. I think I can stop at this stage. Any specific questions or anything?
You said something about covering projections in your.
Yeah.
So are these the same as those that come up in topology, algebraic topology particularly?
No, I don't think so. It is only the name is being used here. No
Okay.
topological property is being carried out. It is only the identification of certain isomorphic subgraphs.
Okay.
It's not as in this compact group or anything.
Okay, I see.
Any specific questions?
I have a sort of, I'm Hemant Bhate. I have a sort of general comment or, question in some sense.
Yes.
All Cayley graphs, for all Cayley graphs, the adjacency matrix is always a convolution. Okay. As an operator, the adjacency matrix is a convolution with the delta function on the generating set S. So
okay.
A
It is
acting on
a
F,
circular matrix, and ultimately the convolution will come.
So anyway, this is for any Cayley graph. For any Cayley graph with a generating set S, if A is the adjacency matrix, then A of F is equal to F convolved with delta S.
Okay.
The S is the characteristic function of that generating set, S
Fine.
that you had talked about.
Okay.
And therefore, Fourier transform is a natural thing to look at. So the Fourier transform converges, changes convolutions into multiplications. Okay. When you have a abelian group, of course, it is exactly the Fourier transform. And when you have non-abelian groups, what you have to look at is representations of that group. Okay.
Fine.
So I expect some of these results should come from the fact that in the case of the circular abelian group, you're talking about in particular of Cn, Zn, then the Fourier transform is the right thing to look at, discrete Fourier transform. And somehow there should be things that come out of the discrete Fourier transform for Cayley graphs on abelian groups. Okay. So it'll be sort of interesting to see if that works in any of these
What
things.
type of benefit we will get out of all this?
For example, the spectrum can be easily, the spectrum can be easily found and various properties come from the, okay. So I have a feeling something to do with these domination also should come in some natural
if my
way from
memory
the
is
Fourier
correct, there is
transform.
only one paper in which this particular thing has been dealt. Maybe I have to look into my folder. There is only one paper in which a very small amount of such things has been dealt. I'm not very quite sure about it. But as you say, if this tool of the convolution Fourier transform could be used for a spectrum, it will be really a very worthwhile, I think.
So, I mean, this is the way that one looks at it. If you have a group G and a generating set S, then the A of F is equal to F convolved with S. And convolution can also be talked about for a non-abelian group. Okay. And therefore, I mean, this is just, I can't prevent myself from saying this, someone in the previous lectures, I'm not sure who it was. I think it might have been Professor Ambat Kumar, was talking about this C60, the buckyball, whatever you call it, fullerene. And one of the best examples of a Cayley graph is C60. So C60 has a group which is A5. So S5 has 120 elements. So the alternate group on 5 elements has 60 elements.
Yeah.
So you have that group A5 with a very simple generating set, namely 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, the cycle.
Yeah.
And the generating set 1, 2, 3, 4, product of 2 transpositions.
Fine.
So it turns out that the Cayley graph of that particular thing of A5 with this generating set is C60.
Yeah.
And it's a very interesting exercise to actually show this.
Look into that.
Okay. So it's elementary. It's very elementary, but it's very instructive. And the reason for doing that would be that, therefore the spectral properties or the properties of C60 are related to the representation theory of A5. So this is what Dr. Asif had done some time ago. And look at this particular Cayley graph with this generating set, and therefore you can talk about the Raman spectrum of C60 comes out of representation theory of A5. So maybe Asif will talk about that. I don't know whether he will or not. So anyway, this is just a comment, by the way.
Okay, fine.
Yeah.
Thank you. Fine. Anything else? Yeah. In the absence of any more questions, we will.
So I have a very basic question.
Yeah, please.
That this E-chain property that is based on the substructure property. So the main proof which you have shown in the start, we can see that in a setting of the matroid also. I think that is structure
matroid. Recursive.
So matroid is basically the structure where between the substructure we have an invariant property, which we define as an independent set, and then we give a guarantee that eventually we are converging to that. Why I'm asking? So does such literature exist? Because this
still now. Generally, as you say, it is independent here, there, that type of graph theoretical notions are there, but Cayley graph, no one has.
Okay, so there the independent set is totally different terminology, which actually is kind of an invariance.
Yes,
when we are moving from one substructure to the other structure. And why I'm asking you is this, that there is an algebra involved here, and there is a computational aspect where we have to prove the correctness guarantee that at the end actually we are getting the right thing.
Yes.
So if I take these two things separately with the help of the matroid, then it becomes more easy to analyze.
Okay, I will look into that definitely. Sir, or if we have a chance, we will do it.
Sir, I'll mail you, and if such a literature exists, I'd really like to look into that context.
As of now, I don't think anything in my memory, but I will look into that and tell you.
Okay, thank you.
Fine. Thank you. Anybody else? Okay. Fine.
Okay. I think there are no questions.
Fine.
Yeah. Let us thank speaker
again.
again.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Good.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
We will meet tomorrow.